You see my screen? Where's this Discord up? Oh, okay. I'm surprised why I'm not getting. I think I turned off my notification from the last session, and yeah, it's quite difficult knowing when you drop messages in the room. Well, it's okay. So I have my simple notes open. I'm going to be explaining a few concepts. I'll be taking it down at the same time so that I'll be able to share this with you. I really find it difficult to create slides, because of the time and because of a lot of things we're also working on from this end. But I think this would be like a good way to explain, take down a couple of things and share with you. Yeah, but I think you should focus more on the explanations of some of these things. And if you have any questions while I explain, I think it's a good idea that you drop those questions on the chat. And I think I would also use myself. Let's see, just to make sure. Yeah, I think I'll just drop it a little bit. Okay. All right, so let's start by trying to understand, what project management is. Then I would walk through the step of. So let me take some things down. So project management, of course. Then we'll try to. I will try to give you, steps. So I'll give you some steps, to managing your project as designers. So as I said earlier, we're not going to, go deep down into trying to cover everything about project management. You need to understand that this is a field of its own. We have project managers, right? And as designers, you don't need to try to understand the entirety of this space. Rather, I think you should learn to be able to manage probably your projects, or maybe the project you're working on within a very small team, probably, right, within a small team. So let's assume you one day become a design lead, or a product lead in a company. Focusing more on the design aspect though. So let's assume you have like 2 or 3 people within your team that are also designers. You should be able to like manage the process, come up with, if you're working with an agile pattern, you should be able to come up with sprints, try to understand what sprints are, try to understand the idea of setting milestones, right? So these are the things we're going to talk about, and I'm going to take down a couple of notes as well, so that I can share with you at the end of the day. All right, so I'm currently looking at Wikipedia, because of course we have to look for the perfect definition. Yeah, if you're working on the project, basically this is what we call definition of terms. So looking at Wikipedia, project management is the process of leading the work on a team to achieve all project goals within the given constraints. So this definition is quite good, but I think I would also have to break this down. Yeah, so what we are referring to here as a project, can be it can be like probably a web project. It can be a community project, right? So we just have like a generic definition to to kind of like describe the generic term project. But in our own use case, right, in our own context, we are referring to the design or the UI/UX project management. So I would say project management is the process. I hope my keyboard is not disturbing you. Is the process of projects, let's say project management in design is a process of leading a design team to achieve all project goals within the given constraints, right? Okay, within the given constraints of the project's brief. Okay, so there's something called a PRD. I don't want to dive deep into this, but this basically means a product requirement document, right? Because when you're working on a project as a designer, definitely as a UI UX designer, not just the designer, but also carrying out the research at the same time, you're definitely going to come across this, and this is what guides you through understanding what you're going to work on. This is going to be created definitely by the project manager or the product manager in your organization. But you're definitely going to need this, to know probably what are the features that this project should carry. What are the features that this app or this website or this desktop application or this embedded device project we're working on, and don't try to get this mixed up. But when I say embedded project, I'm sure you've seen smart TV, smart fridge, smart devices generally, right? Smart devices. As a designer, you would also find yourself working on some of these things. It depends on you. If you don't limit yourself to just apps and websites, you definitely have the opportunity to also work on devices, right? So a PRD, is something that contains the detail of what this product should look like at the end of the day. So we collected the definition from Wikipedia, and we tried to limit this entire definition to also fit, to more like fit the design space, right? So we said project management in design is the process of leading a design team to achieve all project goals within the given constraint of the project brief. And the reason why I'm bringing in the project brief is because we are going to talk about this as well. But before we talk about this, I will just quickly go ahead and give you the steps, right? Give you the steps, and the steps I'm giving you here is based on my experience and what we do within my team. Working on projects, be it mobile or web projects. So you will definitely find like a lot of who is this? Okay, I hope you guys can hear me. Let me verify. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think just to make sure everyone can hear me, let me see. Please drop a message on the chat if you are still connected. I just want to know if I'm still connected. Drop a message on the chat, please. Let's see. Oh, okay, okay. All right. Sorry about that. I quickly had to turn on a different router. Just you can't trust you can't trust the networks around here. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I said I'm going to quickly, outline some of these steps. Of course, in my own opinion, I'm just trying to break this down so that you don't have to go through the stress of reading a lot of books. But at the end of this session, I think I'm also going to introduce the fact that we've been considering coming up with a book club and some other things. So probably by the end of the day, we'll talk about this, right? By the end of the session. Okay. So let me outline some of these steps. So when managing your project as designers, some of the steps we'll look at is first projects, products, or okay. So the reason why we call this project, product, or client onboarding, it depends. So it depends on how you work. If you're an individual, trying to work on this product yourself, but you're a designer, or you are trying to work on this within a team, then definitely you refer to this as a project, as a product. Sorry, you're working on this within a team, in a company, in a corporate environment. So if you're working on this directly with the client, then we can call it a client onboarding. But in most scenarios, you might not be the one having a direct conversation, with the client. There might be kind of like a communication going on with someone else on the team. It's possible, but yeah. So it's project onboarding, product onboarding, client onboarding, depending on how you work. If you end up running your own design agency, then definitely you'll probably refer to this more as the client onboarding stage. Okay, so and basically what happens here is the meeting you have with the client, trying to understand the idea, right? Trying to understand the project, coming from the client. You need to understand that not all clients are 100% sure of what they want. Most clients, just want to have that session with you, so that they can have a better clarity on what they want to build. So I think this is a very vital part here. It's very difficult most times as designers or maybe even engineers, right, to understand how to relate and communicate with clients. But of course, as a designer, this is something that I think after a while you would need to really put in lots of effort to understand how to have meaningful sessions with clients, to understand their ideas, to understand what they really want to put out there as a product at the end of the day. Yeah, to avoid, working on the wrong thing or probably coming up with the wrong implementation at the end of the day. So it's always good to learn how to communicate very well as a designer, because communication is basically a very big deal when it comes to what to do as a designer. Okay, so I think the second thing we should be looking at here should be team setup planning. Okay, so this also depends, right? This also depends on if you're working, individually, or if you're working as a team. So that's why we have, team setup. We also have planning. So if you're working as an individual, then definitely I would prefer to, refer to this as planning, because there are lots of things you need to consider from your end as a designer. And this is going to be based on you, the designer. The planning stage here would refer to a lot of things around the tooling, what you would plan to do. And when I mean plan, when I'm referring to what you might plan to do, I think I'm referring more to the process you want to follow. I think if you look at the UX design process that we discussed in our other sessions, we talked about processes, design processes, and there are different types of design processes, of course. So that's why I said this will depend on you, because you have to go through, like the product definition, the product research, the analysis, then the design, which is the implementation itself, and at the end of the day, of course, validation, which is very important. So these things I just mentioned, of course, would come in here, right? Would come in here, where you have to understand. How should I approach this problem? What are the things I need to put into consideration, right? If you're working with a team, then you need to set up your team. Probably you have like the research team, the UI, the UX team, right? The user research. Then you have like the UI team. Depending on the strength of the people on your team, of course, you as the design lead should be able to also identify this. But in most corporate environments, I've also seen the project managers, do this. Yeah, so I think it depends on the environment you find yourself working in. It depends on you. If you are the one leading the team already, then you should be able to know who is better when it comes to research. You should be able to know who is better when it comes to designing. You should even know who is better when it comes to wireframing. So I've seen a couple of guys that are really good with wireframing, but when it comes to coming up with high fidelity designs, they might not be the best for that specific role. And you need to understand that as someone in this space, in the space of UI UX, it's a very wide space, and a lot of companies would not hire you to just come in and do everything from research to wireframing to prototyping to implementation. When it comes to the design, a lot of companies will probably hire you to do one specific role. So you should know your strengths after a while. You don't need to be a very solid designer. You can be very good when it comes to research. It's okay. It's very much acceptable. So I think that is what this second step is all about: the team setup and the planning. And I think finally we should be looking at the process, right? Understanding the process, which a lot of people would also refer to as workflow. Yeah. So sometimes I find it difficult using terms like this because I don't want to bring in any kind of complexity to things I feel like I can actually make simple. So let's go with understanding the process. When you set up a team, when you set up a team of designers, you have some guys working on research, you have some guys working on prototyping, wireframes and the rest of them. You won't just drop the product brief and explain everybody to start working at random, of course. So there should be like a step by step process, right? Probably for the first week, maybe you have some guys on your team doing research, fully research, which means they're probably collaborating more with the client, trying to understand the business, trying to understand the customers, So I'm looking at this from an angle where you have not fully, you have landed the project, right? But you've not fully understood the project. And this is where project briefs come in, right? Design briefs, right? Because the customer or the client sometimes can actually come up with a brief already, or they already have, they just have like the problem. They don't even understand their market. They don't understand the potential users. So you have to come in, right? Your team has to come in as the researchers to try to conduct this research and these surveys, to understand what the business is all about, and how best to design for this client of yours. So there are lots of things you do in there. There are really lots of things you do in there. For example, I would say you have to you have to first come up with kind of like a definition, right? Like a project definition. Okay, what is this project all about? And then you have to look at the use of this particular product, be it a website or a mobile app. You have to look at the use. What is the role and use of this particular item or this particular stuff we're trying to work on? Then you need to probably come up with the brief yourself, right? You need to come up with the brief, and you need to come up with the brief, and the brief most times would contain. There's no specific. I wouldn't say there's a specific standard, but you have to come up with something that would carry like the statement you got from the client, the problem, the specification, this is a problem, and this problem is actually affecting this set of people. You have to understand the audience, right? You have to also put in your research as well, and this is where you would then come up with the user persona that we spoke about the other time in the previous class. If you don't understand what that is, then maybe you should check on YouTube and check out our channel on YouTube and check some of the previous videos. I understand that the qualities are not the best you would get out there, but I believe you would get something out of it. We're trying to fix that as well. So you need to understand the target audience, you need to understand the company itself or the business itself, their profile. Because of course, when building their website or building the product, you don't want to use yellow as a primary color. Meanwhile, the company itself does not, vibe. Maybe their brand or the previous brand design of the company or the main company does not really vibe with the choice of color you're trying to use. I'm not saying the color of the company must tally with the color of the products you are building, but at least you need to try to come up with something that would work. Because a company into health would not build a product that is outside their domain, except they want to, but it's quite weird. So most times you would find a company that is fully into health services, they will definitely build apps around health services, right? They won't build apps around sports. So I think it's good to make sure you understand the scope, of the business and the project you're working on. Then at the same time, you will probably have on the brief, right? On the brief, you will definitely come up with like a design strategy. You would come up with like timelines. You come up with like budgets. So there are a couple of things, and I think I'm going to take them down as well, because I've been saying a lot of things, and of course, I don't expect everyone to remember. So let's try to talk a little bit about onboarding. So I'm just going to be brief here, just to make sure we have something. So I think at this stage, you're going to be discussing things like agreements, terms. We're still going to come down to. I'm going to give you like a sample, probably a sample PROD or a sample project brief. I think that would work for now. PROD might be complex at this stage, so we'll start with the project brief. Okay, so let's see. So for the onboarding, we should be talking about agreements, and your terms, right? Your terms of work. Okay, so let's do it this way. So this is more like I want to let's not start what we cannot finish when it comes to Roman numerals. Okay, so agreements, terms of work. Then I think we should also consider. This is under the onboarding stage, right? So we are under the projects. Let me just take this whole stuff here. Yeah, so we should be looking at agreement, terms of work. We should be looking at scope of work, right? The agreements. So I'm going to have it this way. 2, the terms of work. Maybe I will have 3, scope of work. So you need to understand these things, right? So you don't end up taking a project and someone of the client says you need to do something beyond the scope, right? So you need to always understand, these things. Very, very important. So this is the scope of work, and I think next we should be looking at payments, and payment plan. So payment plan is really important because, so imagine, I'm going to give an example of something I did recently. So it's a project, right? It's a project, very simple web project. I won't give you details about the project, but of course, it's not. The project is basically for a startup, right? Just a very simple website. I think a 5-page website. So the billing is not so attractive, but of course we're doing this because we want to make sure the startups are able to kick off, at least kick off, and probably we'll have more opportunities to work with them on better stuff. So it's a very simple 5-page website, and I think at the end of the day, initially we first came up with a budget of about $5,000, and of course they're international clients, and they felt it was too much. I know it was not that much, right? And I believe they knew it was not much compared to what they would be charged over there. But at the end of the day, I think we settled on about $2,500, and this included like the brand design, very simple brand design. We came up with the concept, and of course, we were trying to build relationships because they're more like friends, right? So everything was just about $2,500. We came up with a very simple logo, worked on the design, and also implemented the 5-page website. Okay, so the thing I'm trying to point at here is the scope, because this is very important, and also the payment plan. So when working on the scope, they started talking about things like very complex branding. They started mentioning making sure that the brand design also contain like merchandise design for scarves, t-shirts, pen, mugs, and we're like, come on, this is beyond the initial scope, because if we knew you wanted this set of features on your brand, then definitely you would even be paying like more than $2,000 on just the brand design, right? So, but our initial agreement was we give you a logo, which is the main thing. We give you the logo, and we put in that logo on the website, right? We came up with the mock-up already. Everything was detailed. So, as a professional, when coming up with like a budget, or when coming up with before you embark on any project, when going through the agreement stage and talking about your terms of work, we feel it's very important that you also, make sure that you describe the scope very well from your end. So this is what I'll be able to do. I won't be able to work on this. I will be able to do this for you at a certain price. And when it comes to that, the payment plan, it's always good to kind of like put in the payment plan from your end, right? You need to put in this payment plan into stages, right? So you can say before we kick off this project, we'll definitely need like 50% of the payment. Probably during the first review, maybe you have like three stages, right? I showcase, then I implement, and then you review, and then we'll finalize. So that's kind of like 4 steps. So you can say at some certain stage in the project, we get another 20% or maybe 25%. Then when we close finally, we get the remainder 25%, right? So you should learn to put this, and of course, the pricing would always depend on the customer, on the client. So don't be surprised when people start pricing your design gigs from maybe like $50 to $100. It's not a bad one. You need to understand your current level, and as you grow, the payment would also increase. And I would always advise you, right? Don't think of what you see on Twitter. Don't think of what you see on Twitter, right? There'll be a lot of people talking about, how they bill or charge $10,000 for simple designs. Trust me, it doesn't always go that route. Or it's not always as it seems on social media. Okay, so this is what I would say you should always look at for the project and the product for the onboarding, right? For the onboarding. So I think one thing I almost forgot was, I think I would go ahead and add it to this as well. I would say client. Okay, so let's just put it here. Client brief, right? The client brief most times is different from your brief at the end of the day, because the client brief is just to say, okay, this is what I think I want to do. I'm not 100% sure, but this is what we want to do. Then after supplying you with that, you would also embark on your research maybe for like a week, and then come back and say, okay, this is our discovery, and this is what we think would be the best way to go about this, right? You don't have to put it in a way that would show that the client is not so sure of what they want. You have to make sure you explain yourself very well, and make sure you respect the clients, of course. So I don't want us to drift away from the idea of project management, but I think you need to understand this even before you get to that stage. Just in case you are going to embark on projects as a solo designer, right? Okay, so I think the next thing should be talking about the team setup and the planning. Okay, so when it comes to the team setup, yes, so I think I will be able to break this down into 2 parts. If you are the one working on this project yourself, then you are basically going to be the project manager, of course, right? And I would say the implementation team. So the reason why I'm calling you the project manager and the implementation team is because every project you embark on, whether you are on a team or you are just working on this on your own, there should be someone to always monitor the progress or track the progress of this project. And sometimes working as an individual might slow down the pace at which this project is supposed to be delivered. So when it comes to the project manager role, someone said she did not. Okay, so Joy, we don't understand the explanation on the client brief. Okay, so basically, I'm trying to make it as short as possible. So basically, I am the client here, and I want to build. I have a business, and my business, what I do basically is I make pizza, and I make pizza, and I deliver. I have like in-house logistics, and we deliver these pizzas to our customers. And I am meeting with you, as a designer, or maybe as an agency, and I'm saying we want an app, right? We want people to be able to download our app and make orders, right? So I just gave you a simple brief. This is what I do. I have this business. This is what I want, right? I might not be so detailed about. Okay, I think where you come in now as the UI UX person, it's probably you would then ask me, okay, where is your current location? So you try to understand the customers, right? What are your customers? What are the age groups of your customers? Are they mostly youths? Are they mostly adults? So these are things you definitely want to consider before you finally jump on projects. Yeah, and of course, if the client is not so comfortable with a lot of questions, then you can propose to embark on maybe like a 2-day or 3-day research. Try to understand. Probably visit the offices or visit their locations, and ask a couple of questions that would add to the growth of the business, and the development of the application at the end of the day. So client brief is just a client giving you a very simple description of what they want. Probably it might be documented, or it can just be during the meeting, right? So that is basically what it is, and I hope you understand now. So back to the implementation team and the project manager. I was only trying to point out here that if you don't have someone, performing the role of a project manager on your team, or within your project, it might be difficult to track this. So imagine telling a client that you will be able to finish up with a design project, maybe like a mobile app design project, within 2 weeks, and you are unable to come up with a proper milestone, like a proper document to showcase the milestones, and to give like a proper timeline. It's very difficult and problematic when you end up being late to deliver on something. Clients do not like that. I mean, it's better you don't take this project than to have late deliveries coming from your end. I mean, if it's from the client's end, definitely you won't be happy as a designer as well. So you always have to make sure you put this in check. It's good to have like someone managing the timeline, managing the project when it comes to timeline, and when it comes to communicating with the clients as well. Regarding the deliveries that you already have on ground, and probably reviews as well. So you definitely need someone to handle this, or you would have to handle this, by yourself. So these are things you need to consider. And coming up with a team to jump on a project like this, you have to really consider this person or set of people, on this role. Then the implementation team here describes a lot of people, right? It describes the researchers, it describes the designers, those coming up with the prototypes, those coming up with the wireframes. Or if you are the only one doing that, then I mean that's not a bad thing. It means you end up becoming, everyone on these roles. Okay, so these are the two main categories that I would say you need, to have a proper team. Sometimes we also have like directors, probably like project directors or design directors. I'm not going to add that in here. I would consider that to be part of the implementation team. And as I said earlier, the job of the implementation team is just to complete the deliverables, and at the end of the day, they report to the project manager. So if you are currently working in like a corporate environment, like an agency, you definitely understand what I mean better. But I hope my explanation is also good enough for you at this stage. Finally, I think we have the process and the workflow. So maybe I should just shorten this to process and workflow, and I'll just explain the expectation of so what it means to to have a good process and to come up with a workflow. And basically, I think at the end of the day, this just boils down to being able to also outline the tasks of the team, right? Outlining the task of the team, who should do what. Um, Also outlining the deadline. So I think let's say outlining. So you can come up with this. You can come up with this on a document, right? You can come up with something on a document outlining who does what, right? I hope this is not going to be confusing, but I would say team structure. So I think this should, yeah. So I think this should come here. What am I doing? Okay. All right. So outlining who does what, and also describing the timeline. Okay. Understanding deadlines. So there are some people, very good at meeting up with project expectations very fast. There are some that would also want to procrastinate. I mean, I believe everyone actually has the tendency to procrastinate. You just have to be able to probably manage yourself better. Um, so I think what you also need to understand is, time management. Time management actually plays a very important role here. I'm not going to teach you anything around that, but I'll probably share a couple of resources at the end of the day. So let's just have resources to share. I'm going to share this with you, so I'm taking it down so I would forget to do that. Okay, so understanding deadlines, and also I think one last thing is um, hmm, understanding client expectations. So you can actually have this as a workflow, and I believe you know what a workflow is, but just in case you don't, a workflow is just it's just a way for you to describe, the activities that you're going to probably have to put in check or perform. Sometimes you put in this workflow in form of a document, sometimes in form of a diagram, but at least you understand, what should be done, what should be done next, and at this certain stage, what should I expect? So there are lots of things to check around there, but you can just do a quick googling to understand what workflow is, as from a generic standpoint, and then how you can also bring in the idea of workflows into your development, into your design process. Sorry, into your design process. Okay, so yeah, I think this is good, right? This is something that breaks down the idea of project management and when it comes to design. One other thing I would like you to understand when it comes to breaking down your projects into deadlines and milestones. So let's say and milestones. So one other thing I would like you to understand here, for me and my team, we basically use the Kanban style, of course, agile. I'm not going to go deep down into this stuff because of time, but agile. So maybe this is something you should look at, right? Try to look up, what is agile. Agile is basically a process, right? It's basically a process, but you need to understand, what this process looks like. You need to also understand this Scrum. And please, you don't have to read, you don't have to go into this like in concrete detail. You don't need to. You just need to understand. Okay, what is agile? What is Scrum? Right? And what is Kanban? So for us, we use Kanban most times, and using Kanban, you are able to describe. You are able to describe your tasks in different stages, and so I think maybe I should just do A, B, C, and D. And in here, I can say, I don't know if this makes sense. Okay, so I'm just going to say, yeah, let's have this right here. Okay, so I'm going to say using breakdown, this should be together, right? So break down tasks into four stages. And these stages would definitely be, doing. This is how we describe it. The task you have to do, the one you're currently doing, or most people also refer to this as progress, right? So not a bad one. Then review, or you can say for review, the task you have for review, and done, right? So this is something that I think works for us, right? It really works for us. So I think it's something that might also work for you. You don't need to invest in a full-blown project management software to be able to achieve this. You can definitely use Trello. So I have Trello right here. There are so many tools you can use for this: Asana, Trello. But I would advise you go with Trello. It's something simple, something basic. Sometimes I also use To-Do, a very simple To-Do. I use Microsoft To-Do. Some other times I just have things, on my stickies, or maybe I'm using my calendar, right? So if you check here, you see we have like a lot of things going on from front end, back end. I have everything here in my calendar. This is also this is a project, right? This is a whole project, and I'm able to manage this from here. So when I pick the day, I get reminders. I have an app that I use in storing like the curriculums. I'm able to get feedback from there as well, and I know what next to take probably on a specific class. I mean, this is all project management, but of course, looking at design. I think Trello is a good way to break down your tasks, and I don't think I need to open Trello, do I? I don't think so. I'm going to drop a link, Trello download. So I'm just looking up on Google Trello download. Okay, so I have the link, and I'm going to share with you on the chat. Oh, so that was a mistake. I think I typed twice. Oh, yeah, but I think you can stick to it on that link, and you can just follow that link. So that is the link. So I think that is it for now. Then maybe next we should look at let's see. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about product briefs. I think that is something that you really need to understand. If you have gone through the curriculum, of course, you would notice that we also described a few things that you should know. Not compulsory to what you are learning, but you should know them because they will definitely help you. Most of them are productivity tools, and yeah, I think we have some examples. We have Notion, we have Jira. Let me move my browser down to this screen and just explain a couple of things here. All right, so this is Trello, and of course I've shared the link, with you. Yeah, so we have another tool as part of the curriculum. Of course, we have a tool called Notion. So, okay. All right, and Notion is basically, I think I'm logged in, but you can visit notion.so. I think I'm logged in already, so it might not take me to the landing page. But basically, I refer to this as it's a project management tools in it. You can create what we call blocks, Notion blocks, and then there are some specific blocks for Kanban kind of um, style. So you can use it for project management as well. So they have that kind of Kanban feel, and where can I get the curriculum? You can definitely find it for me. I think it's one of the pinned messages. So just check the pinned messages. Yeah. So okay. So of course I said it was going to like take me in here. So this is what it looks like. When you are signed in, you can put in a lot of these stuff. Stickies, notes, Python, Web3, software, meetings. So you see, I'm able to arrange a lot of these things. Profile, then this is a lot of things, right? I mean, if you're a researcher, a designer, and an engineer, you can definitely use Notion, and you see by just using the this by clicking on this plus a lot of more items I can right, Blender and the Kanban like a dedicated video for website notion.so, which I am going to share. We will share this with you right now. Let me put the chat. Jason, these guys, yeah. So check them out. From the website, use Trello. We have Jira, we have Notion. Check these softwares out. Yeah, on the curriculum also, we are supposed to kind of like break down what PRDs and FRDs and the business documents looks like. These are really complex, but we'll definitely look at that. PRDs basically stand for product requirement documents. FRDs stands for functional requirement documents. And the thing is, I think some of these stuffs we just actually wanted to make sure you understand that these stuffs exist, and you are definitely going to find yourself, doing some of these things in the future. But the functional requirement document is mostly used by engineers, though. But product designers or UI/UX designers might, also be in, meetings where they're trying to understand the functional parts of a software or a service, and you might be required to also contribute, or you might want to contribute, at your own convenience. You might want to look into the functional requirement document, to understand what the functional part of this software should be, and then at the end of the day, come up with reasonable design specs, or design plans that would probably work, with the documents, right? So product requirement documents as well. I think I would rather give you examples than try to dive deep into these things I'm mentioning. Yeah, then design sprints. So basically this boils down. This is taking us back to agile, right? This is taking us back to agile. When working as an agile team, this is more like this is more like trying to understand the idea that clients might not always know what they want from the onset. So you might come up with something, and that might not be the best implementation, probably for the client, or probably for the design lead at the end of the day. So you have what we call sprints, and sprints are just like picking a particular section of this product or this project, and we say we are going to work on this particular item, for the next one or 2 days, or for the next 1 week. So, for example, we're trying to build a payment solution, for example, a payment solution, and we're looking at implementing the checkout screens, or the checkout part of the project. So there are so many things that might go in there, maybe coming up with the wireframe for that screen, and at the same time trying to make sure that the wireframe is also in sync with the other screens, right? You don't want to have a whole different implementation there. Then coming up with the mock-up, a prototype. Checkout might not have one screen only. Probably it might have up to like 4 or 3 different screens, depending on what you are working on, though. So depending on the requirements. So a sprint is just, when your team decides to have a session or have a meeting and we say, okay, we're working on this. During the sprint, you might also have brainstorming sessions where different designers, meet to discuss what they feel the experience should look like or feel like on that particular checkout screen or that particular piece of software or piece of implementation you are trying to do. So that's basically what the sprint is when it comes to agile. Just having to work on one section at a time, right? So you can break down a project into multiple sprints, and you just have to pick up those sprints. And you need to understand that you can always revisit sprints because while you're on a different sprint, the client might be looking at the previous sprint. Someone is presenting to the client, and they might have a few words or a few changes to make, and you can always fall back. Um, yeah, and there are different methodologies you can use, but this agile pattern is always advised, and I have a book. I have a book, focusing on agile design methodology. So I think I'm also going to share this at the end of the day. A very short book, of course. People don't really like reading, you know, books with tons of pages. So I think the book is just about 200 pages, not much. What does it mean to have whiteboard sessions? Okay, so uh, most times, most times you'll be having whiteboard sessions with clients or maybe with your team, and basically what it means to have, it's something we've done together, on the call. On a call, I think I had that session with Oladipo. So that is something that is actually user research, but for the class, we can also describe that as a whiteboard session. We were coming up with concepts. Questions, getting it. Basically, so you're coming up with ideas, you're brainstorming, reasonable with the clients, coming in on the clients to make sure they're not going in solution that should implement. Also, if within the implement. Oh, now, this might try to deviate from the initial idea when having this brainstorming session. So it's always good to have whiteboarding sessions. You can always correct them. You can always pick out a few points from them as well that would support the design process. So basically, the whiteboarding session works with um, you and your team, or probably you and the client you're currently designing for. Then of course, design process, right? Design process. We've explained this before, and at this point, of course, it's beyond just design thinking, but it has to do with the process, how you move from one step, of the journey to the other. And I think I was able to. Where is the yeah? So I think I was also able to point out some of those factors. I think that was during the last class, I guess. Where we were talking about the steps. We're talking about the product definition, the research, analysis, design, and the validation. And of course, I said the definition, you understand what you want to work on. That is one step. The research, you embark on the research, try to understand the user persona, try to come up with like an affinity map, try to understand what the users really want, then at the end of the day, you run an analysis, because if you conduct like 50 user research, for example, it doesn't mean you have to pick every single idea or every single feature that the 50 candidates says they want, right? So you have to run an analysis. What is very important at this stage? What is important to the product? What is important to the users? Then I think you move over to the design stage. Of course, starting up with your wireframes, your sketches, then moving down to high fidelity. Some designers would try to separate the idea of low fidelity from wireframing. They would say wireframing first before your low fidelity. Of course, low fidelity has like a lot of stages, right? You can have up to 3 different stages of low fidelity design. The major difference is that high fidelity looks like the real thing. Low fidelity is different levels of sketch, trying to make sure you are on track before mixing up the colors or adding the effects and all those stuff. So you have the low fidelity, you have the wireframing, which I would describe as low fidelity here for now. Then you have the high fidelity or the mock-up. If you want to prototype this for the users to get a better feel of what it looks like, what the final product will look like, that's also nice. Then finally, validation, which is going to determine if your design is accepted or not. Okay, so so I think this is the idea of project management in UX, and also understanding what the UX process looks like. I think this would really go a long way, because it's something you will definitely encounter, even if you are not the one in charge of talking about these things or having these meetings, but you will definitely encounter it one way or the other. Okay, so I think the next thing we're also considering is having different sessions by yourself, like doing things within your own time and space, but more like a competitive way. You competing with yourself here, not with someone else. So we're looking at embarking on like 100 days of design challenge. Where you work on several components, maybe design tokens or design components, because of course you don't expect or we don't expect you to build up a whole website in a day, even though we know it's possible, but we believe you also have stuff that you're working on, that you're doing. So it would be a good idea to come up with different design tokens. So we kind of like set the requirement, and you work on the requirement. It's not going to be an assignment. It's just trying to make sure you keep yourself in check for the next 100 days. You tweet about it, you post on LinkedIn about it, and definitely this would land you good opportunities. This would definitely land you good opportunities. And how I wish I really understood the power of socializing and learning. Right, you learn, you socialize, you talk about what you learn. Even if you're an introvert, this is something you really need to do, for your own good. And when I mean for your own good, so you can easily, people can easily find out, that this is what to do, and they will be able to follow through on your journey. If there are opportunities when it comes to, internship opportunities, or probably junior design roles in startups, and other companies, recruiters will be able to locate you on time. This is something that I feel is really important, and you always make sure you understand that social media would always make you feel you're not doing or putting in your best. But trust me, it's a gradual process. You have to take it one step at a time. I personally have been in this space in tech for more than 11 years, but I strongly believe that when it comes to developing softwares, doing designs and all this stuff, I would probably say I have like 11 years of experience now with all these things. But Even with this 11 years period, last week here was the first time I got an offer. I got an offer for a role that is way beyond what I expected. Even though I've not accepted it yet, but I mean I've never gotten an offer up to $4K before. But you get to a stage, even you get to a stage, and you begin to receive offers. Maybe $1,000, $2,000, but you don't expect that you just start learning design for 3 months, and all of a sudden you are beginning to get like $1,000 or $2,000 offer. You always start from somewhere. And even if you see someone else getting that offer, of course, it's their turn. You have to be patient. You have to practice. You have to put in the work, and before you know it, you'll be able to hit that as well. And you need to understand that it's not always about getting the job. Of course, we've been running an agency for a very long time. We've made a lot of cash, from tech, not necessarily in form of a job, but in form of contracts. And sometimes it's even more appealing. But if you are looking at landing roles, landing jobs, I think we should try our best to see if this would be possible. Having to work on designs, this is a community, right? So we have to work on different things like daily. You post your designs on the Discord channel. We comment, we talk about it, we correct you because we might not have enough time to review everybody's designs, right? So we point out a few corrections, things that will definitely make you better at this. We have a lot of people interested in what we do. We also, I think, we're able to discuss with one of the previous senior designers at. I think that should be. I keep forgetting the name of this. Tencent, yeah, that is Tencent in China, and she's really pleased to see what we do, and she was so happy to see the fact that we are training a lot of people and trying to make them understand the ideology of becoming a UI UX. It's an idea. You have to actualize that idea. So we put in the idea. That's our job. We just make you understand the opportunities, and it's your job to do better. Okay, so someone is saying what you're saying now is absolutely a relief for me. All right, so I think Emanuela also dropped the curriculum. It's already past 9, and I think I'm taking too much of her time, but I just want you to understand that it's a process. So let's see how we can make this happen, right? So from the 100 days of design, and we're having new people join the server, right? So we're going to have a lot of designers, join the server, So it's always good to collaborate because when you teach, you learn more, right? So the more you teach, the more you know. So while they join, also try to put them through. And I also said I'm going to share a couple of resources with you around time management, around let's see, around product design. So it's just going to be more like a very simple short book, product design and process development. I'm going to also share this whole stuff here. Then also around design briefs and specification. This is not like the university type of learning or the secondary school type of learning. You don't need to cram any of this, right? So it's just something that would come to you. You don't need to cram any of this. You don't cram design. You just try to understand a couple of concepts. So design briefs, right? So I'm going to share. Okay, yeah, design briefs and specification. Okay, so you just try to understand a couple of things, and with time, it becomes part of you. For example, when it comes to picking colors, picking fonts, it's always good to have this bunch of resources. It's always good to have like a bunch of resources, especially in form of bookmarks. So I have a lot of over the years I've been able to accumulate like a lot of bookmarks around design. So let's see. I think I'm going to share that with you. Not today. If someone can remind me. So this is design, and as you can see, I have a lot of things around here. mock-ups, different websites. You can get free. I love free stuffs, right? So a lot of free resources around mock-ups, typography, art assets, inspirations. For example, this is Dribble, right? Everybody knows Dribble. So tools, moving. So I always come here once in a while, right? Gradients, things around. I think this should be something on Behance. Important stuff, of course. Icons, right? And of course, with time, I always add things here. If you want a better way to manage your bookmarks, try to get Raindrop. So there's something called Raindrop. I think it's on raindrop.io. You can download this on your, let me share as well. You can download this on your laptops. I think you can also have it on your phone. Probably it has a mobile app. I'm not very sure. But the way it works is you're able to group your bookmarks into several categories. I just learned about this, not quite long, and I've been trying my best to migrate because I have a lot of bookmarks. I've been trying my best to migrate a lot of things to Raindrop. Then books as well. I'm going to be sharing books, so probably we'll talk about that later. But having a book club will really help everybody because I share a book. Everyone reads the book. You talk about it. You try to understand. I have some of the best free. Always talking about the free, right? I have some of the best free design books out there. A lot of my interns, a lot of my guys have gone through these books and they really appreciated the fact I shared with them. I would also share that with you. Always hit me up if you have anything any question. You can definitely drop a message in the room. That would be better because I hardly reply personal messages on Discord. But once I see there's a notification in the room, I will definitely attend to you there. So that should be all. Thank you very much, and do have a great night. Let me share what we have here already. So let's see. Yeah, so this is not looking. If someone can just copy these items, put it in a Word document or maybe like in form of PDF and share on the group in the room here, that would be very much appreciated. Have a wonderful night, everyone. Bye.